Welcome to SoCal Sports Report's first podcast of the new decade. We're excited about that. I am John Stillman, your host, along with Vince Morales, Corey Wanarovich, our producer engineer, Justin Stillman, and we're ready to roll. It's with heavy hearts that we open this show. Of course, all the talk is very sad. Kobe Bryant passing away. Not only for Laker fans, it's NBA-wide, it's worldwide. Coming in tonight, I heard some quotes from the participants in the upcoming Super Bowl, and that's all they're talking about, how Kobe affected their lives and how much they already miss him and are praying for the family. So we're gonna break this down into several different areas and probably spend a majority of the time on this subject because it's something that you just can't stop talking about. I mean, it's mind-boggling. I'm still in shock. I don't know how long this is going to go, but it's a disaster, and it's so sad. It's so sad. Not only for Kobe, for all the families. We want to start by wondering, the actual accident itself. I did some research, and the pilot was Arizak Banyan, who was 50 years old. He had been with Kobe before. He spent years at the Group 3 Aviation flying lessons. In 1998, he started his flying lessons. 2001, he became a private pilot. 2007, got his commercial license and went and become a ground instructor. He worked as a pilot for Island Express, flying from Catalina to the mainland. And he was invited by Kobe to many of his awards, ceremonies and whatever. They were good friends, and this guy apparently had been around for quite some time. I just don't understand some of this. I'll let you guys get into it in just a second. But that morning, I believe the LAPD had grounded their helicopters. There was too much fog in the area. It was too close to the ground. It was dangerous. It was not conducive to driving in. So their helicopters were on the ground. Yet this guy takes off from John Wayne, and I'm still at a loss for why he didn't do. I don't know who you would talk to before that to find out whether or not the conditions are safe. What's the weather up in that neck of the woods? Do you think it's a good idea if we go, or should we postpone it for a couple hours? It seems like he would have picked somebody's brain, but again, hindsight 50-50. That it's a terrible thing, and we want to talk about the actual accident first. I mean, that's horrifying. Now,
yeah,
I've heard different. Was the copter on fire when it went down, or did it hit the side of a mountain? Or
I don't know for sure. What I've heard from, and different witnesses say different things. That one said that all of a sudden they heard a low-flying helicopter, and the next thing they know, they heard the explosion and the fire. Another person said they heard a low-flying helicopter, a helicopter that was in trouble, sputtering, and then the explosion. I don't know that anybody actually could have witnessed it by eye based on the visibility at the time. So I don't know that there's any way we're going to learn that until the NTSB and the FAA figure out exactly what happened. I think sometimes, Kobe, the irony of Kobe, who used the helicopter, to spend more time with his kids. It was the reason that he gave in interviews before, is just cruel. And I think Kobe liked to surround himself with the best. And it sounds like this pilot was among the best at being able to fly in those types of conditions. And so, I don't know. It's hard to speculate whether or not he should have. I'm not a pilot. I have read that he was trained to fly with instruments only, without the visibility being better than what it was. you know, when you've got Kobe on your helicopter, I think if you're the best pilot, you're going to take those risks because you've taken them before. He was an instructor. He taught other pilots how to fly in those types of conditions. And so I think sometimes when you're the best at something or considered one of the best at something, you unfortunately take those risks, and it had a catastrophic ending. So,
Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I know the helicopter that they were on, the Sikorsky, is built for, all weather, right? It's a rescue helicopter. I mean, the guy's been doing it forever.
Right.
Kobe doesn't have anyone second rate on his team. He's not going to let anyone that doesn't work as hard as him. So, I'm sure that the pilot was well prepared, and he obviously thought he knew what he was doing, and I think it's just a tragic accident.
And again, we don't know whether it was a mechanical failure, whether it was because of the visibility that it was pilot error, flying into something or hitting something. We just don't know those things yet. But even the best can, in a situation like that, it's really quick to be. It's easy to say, look, you shouldn't have been flying in those conditions. And I think that if he gets to his destination safely, this is the kind of guy that can fly in those conditions. Yeah. And he's probably taken, and obviously he's clearly every other flight before he'd gotten that machine to the destination safely. So it's for us to speculate now, whether it was mechanical or pilot error, it typically is a combination of both things. Just a tough day and tough terrain to be flying at all. So.
I don't think there's a black box. They said there's
no, there isn't. No.
Black box on that.
Yeah.
I think he got a report from the Burbank airport was in contact with him. Somebody said you're flying too low. You're flying too low. And
for them, and again, from what I've heard, is not that wasn't a warning. It was just we can't track you at an elevation, an altitude below 2,500 feet. So it was more of a warning to, if you want us to keep track of you for safety reasons, you need to fly higher. I've heard conflicting reports on that. So that it wasn't a warning, you're flying too low, you're getting too low. It was more of a look, you're getting out of our range. If you're going to fly that low, we can't communicate with you. We can't track you. We can't see you. We don't know where you are.
As good as this pilot is, and with the experience he's had, I'm sure he's probably flown in conditions similar to this.
Sure, absolutely.
Maybe not this bad.
I'm guessing that. Well, obviously, if he's an instructor in these kinds of conditions, for pilots to fly in these kinds of conditions, he had to have had, hundreds, if not thousands, of hours in conditions just like that, especially based out of Southern California, where that coastal layer is constant, especially in the summer. June gloom and the gray May.
I've heard some people say, they were going to Newbury Park, I think, Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park.
Thousand Oaks, yeah.
I've heard people say, well, why didn't they just drive? It's not that far. It's, hour and a half?
Ironically, we just had a water polo tournament the weekend before and just did that drive.
Oh, did you?
I mean, I'm very familiar with where they were.
Yeah. Again, we don't have the advantage of being able to appropriate a helicopter, and and that was something that was pretty standard for Kobe to do. Obviously, when you're sitting here and heartbroken and just crushed over it, you're thinking, oh, why couldn't they have just driven? But again, it was, to spend more time. I heard that, Kobe Bryant had been at Mass that morning. So he wanted to go to Mass with his family. And that was a decision so that they could carve some time off and spend that time. And that's just the cruel irony of this. And the reason that he had in interviews had stated were the reasons why he would fly in helicopters, and to Staples for games and for practices. And it was clearly the reason why he was doing it there. He was seen at Mass on Sunday morning.
Before Mass, he was at Adoration, is what I heard from people that were there. Yeah. So. Yeah,
that just is the whole thing is.
It's in fact, church is the St. Edward Catholic Church is the first time that I met Kobe Bryant the only time that I met Kobe Bryant in person. I've seen him live, seen him on TV and at games. But Vanessa Bryant, as a youngster, teenager in the area, Father Stephen Salat, who was the pastor at St. Edward's, they followed him there, and so I'm not certain that Kobe was. I don't know if he was Catholic.
He was.
Vanessa was, and it's just surreal to sort of look over at Mass one day and see, Vanessa Bryant with this 20-carat diamond and 6'8" or 6'7" Kobe Bryant right next to him. And then they had their oldest daughter, but she was a little girl at the time, a baby, an infant, and. So just in that context, it's just one of those things. And so for me, it was hard to hear that's how he had been spending his morning. Yeah.
Tragic, to say the least. A lot has been, we know there were 9 people who died, and it's nobody's fault that Kobe gets the limelight, because Kobe's most recognized, and everybody around the world, he's worldwide, fame. But there are other people on that helicopter that had equal the tragedy, equal the heartbreak, equal the pain. John and Carrie Attabelli, he's a baseball coach at Orange Coast College.
A legend.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach 2019 National Coach of the Year last year.
They refer to him as the first family at OCC, but they were both on the chopper, and Alyssa, their daughter, 13 daughter, who played on that same team with Gigi.
Yeah, 3 little girls. It's heartbreaking.
Christine Maurer, who was a excellent basketball player at Edison. She made the Hall of Fame in 1998 and 99.
Volleyball too, right?
What's that?
Volleyball too, right? I think she was
I believe
two
so.
sports star.
Yeah. But she was Kobe's top assistant for his Mamba Athletic Club.
Yeah.
Tenacious defensive coach, in fact, in 1999 she was selected as Edison's Female Athlete of the Year. So she was a member of that. Unfortunately, a member of that party. Sarah Chester, 45, and her daughter Peyton, 13, another team member. Was aboard, of course, Kobe and Gigi.
The Chesters from St. Margaret's High School,
right,
or from the private school.
Right.
I have some friends one friend who has a daughter about that age, and it's just horrible.
These people people in the sports world would know obviously Altobelli and people like that, but these people aren't going to get the notoriety that Kobe is, but that doesn't mean they don't feel the same pain, the same.
The ripple effect is just so wide from this tragedy, for different reasons, right? The baseball community. I mean, my boys both went through.
Right.
They're playing college baseball, and they've played against Coach Altobelli, and just a classic baseball dude that was just a great guy and played the game right and taught the game right, and obviously had multiple players go on to the big leagues from his program.
Right.
Just a great guy, and his wife and daughter were always at the games.
Right.
When Golden West played the OCC, you see them there, right? So I mean, it was the ripple effect there are just huge, and then just insane.
Yeah, the wife of a local party band,
Tijuana Dogs.
The Tijuana Dogs. So locally, these things won't resonate globally, or even nationally. But for this Orange County community, where Kobe was a fixture in Newport Coast, and as far south as St. Edward and Dana Point, where because of Vanessa's connection with the pastor Steve Salat, and the kids that were playing with Gianna, from St. Margaret's and Altobelli's daughter. It's just locally, it's just even more devastating.
Yeah. Like I say, we'll feel it a lot more here than they will even nationwide. I like the huge crowds that gathered to pay their respects. Staples Center was just, a singular at Staples Center. And, out at his academy, they had quite a group, and of course, at the site of the exit, where as close as you could get. But people everywhere just came out to pay their respects.
Yeah.
And,
you heard so many stories of a guy who was taking his daughter they were driving to Disneyland, and he just turned around and went back to Staples, and I don't know if it was that particular gentleman, but there was another gentleman who just turned around and went to a florist and said, "I want, a memorial wreath, and with purple and white flowers," and he just brought it back to Staples that morning within an hour or two after the news had come out. And the makeshift memorials that popped up at that time, and the people that were there, and all on a day when the Grammys were happening that night, and they were trying to tell people, you can't hang around here. We've got, these Grammys going on, but people were, they just were not going to be deterred to pay their respects at the like Alicia Keys said, the house that Kobe built.
That's right.
Staples.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Honoring Kobe. I thought it was appropriately Toronto and the Spurs both started their games with taking the 24-second
Yeah, goosebumps.
Yeah.
violation.
And then the 8 and the 24.
Right.
The backcourt violation.
Yeah.
Just, so clever, but just such a great
And this is all during
honor.
standing ovation for both
Right.
both teams were doing this.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban is retired number 24 in Dallas. Nobody else will ever wear number 24.
Which is ironic because Cuban and Kobe had a feud during his playing days, right? When he said,
Sure.
should have lotteried him, should have,
LAX was lit up, as was Madison Square Garden, purple and gold.
Empire State Building.
Empire State Building.
Yeah.
I mean, there were tributes, far and wide, and
And it just transcends basketball, especially with, post-basketball Kobe and who he was and the types of things that he was getting involved with. I mean, one of the things that gets buried is Academy Award winner
we're going to get
Kobe
into that.
Bryant. I mean, it's just, it's just astonishing. And to lose somebody of that quality and caliber, and whose tendrils just went out so far. I mean, his dad played in Italy. He spoke Italian. He was a Rossonero, AC Milan fan, just things like that you just, there are just so many things that you're hearing more and more of that he kept private, with his types of things. I heard 200 Make-A-Wish that he took part in, the 200 Make-A-Wish wishes from kids that were dying in his career, which turns out to be about 10 a year. That's almost one a month.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're playing, 82 games
Right,
and
exactly.
15, 20 preseason games and all the appearances and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're going to continue to hear, and I think that's going to be, part of his legacy. He's a great basketball player, but he was a great human, right?
Yeah.
After, he made a great turnaround, right?
Absolutely. An imperfect guy who became a great man and a great father.
Exactly. Someone to look up to, and
absolutely.
I think we're going to hear great things that never were reported before, people never talked about before. All the different things that he would do for the kids, and for I heard that there was a Boston Celtic, and I forget the guy's name right now, but had called him up and said, "Hey, Kobe, can you help me out?" After Kobe had retired, and he was like, "Yeah, but the only thing is, you got to be ready to work."
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to be money. You're going to have to work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he would say yes to so many different people and help people out. So
all of the stories from so many different corners. Jimmy Kimmel told a story about how he had sent Kobe Bryant a book, and the next day he was calling him and picking his brain about the book, and Jimmy Kimmel jokes. He goes, "Kobe, I didn't write it. I just sent it to you," because he wanted to know more and more. And that Jimmy Kimmel said, "Look, I'll get you in touch with the author so you can ask him these questions." But things like that, where Bill Plaschke was writing about how he would email him and think that he didn't have handlers. He would email Plaschke right back on interviews, and Plaschke was as hard on him and as critical of Kobe during his playing days as any local reporter, and that he still had that kind of relationship. Obviously he had softened. That Mamba mentality had softened a little bit as a grown 41-year-old man with daughters. As he said, I'm a girl's dad.
Yeah. Four of them.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of an interview coming in tonight. Shaq doing his TNT pregame.
Yeah.
He was falling apart.
I bet.
Yeah.
Just falling apart.
Well, I watched last night an interview with Shaq, and how it was Shaq and Kobe, and they were sort of reminiscing, and Shaq, openly apologized. He said, "Look, during the last time they played together in the All-Star game, and they got co-MVP of the All-Star game, and at the end, Kobe said, 'Hey, take that home, right? Give it to your kid or whatever.'" And Shaq, got all choked up and said, "That's when that's one of the times I'm like, why was I such a jerk to you?"
Right.
Right. And he apologized to him, and I'm glad that they had made amends with each other.
It felt genuine too. I mean, I know people had speculated that maybe some of it wasn't authentic, but it felt genuine.
Right.
Of course, there was some genuine animosity between the two, and from the young gun who was becoming the star. But after it was all said and done, they did become friends and friendlier. So that was good to see, and it's just
Well, they said that Shaq had said that Kobe had texted his son Sharif that morning to check in with him, and see how he was doing through all the stuff that he's dealing with right now, and just devastated. Obviously, he came in and showed the text to Shaq.
Yeah, sad.
Yeah, Jerry West, the interview with Jerry West. My God, like he lost a son. I mean, because when he traded for Kobe, I mean, he had that plan laid out and knew exactly who he wanted and made that deal with Charlotte.
Advance.
Yeah,
well, he told Charlotte who to draft.
Yeah.
He told Charlotte who to draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as a courting, the 17-year-old kid who he watched grow up. There were times there when I think there were probably some, fair-weathered Laker fans who thought it was a mistake to get somebody that young and to give away somebody who's seasoned as Vlade and the picks that were given away as well. And because he wasn't a star immediately, you could see the raw talent when he was so young. I mean, he's right out of high school. I mean,
18 years old, 17 years old.
Yeah. I mean, he turned 18 right after. Yeah. Right. He played at 18, but he was 17 when he was drafted. Right.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But to hear Jerry West and to talk about it. And the thing now that I think about is how quiet it's been from the Lakers. They finally put out a statement, I think earlier today or maybe late last night. I can't even imagine what Jeannie Buss could say in front of a camera.
Right.
Yeah.
That would just be heartbreaking to watch.
I did hear that they're talking about moving the memorial from the Staples Center to the Coliseum because of the crowd.
I bet.
Because the Staples Center only holds 18,000, right? And the Coliseum holds 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be absolutely appropriate, and just in hearing everything that's going on, and just the silence, the sad silence that's coming out of the Lakers camp. I can't even imagine them having had to play tonight.
No.
It would have been awful.
Yeah, you couldn't even think about the game.
Ironically, or the OCC started their season today,
right?
No.
And they had to play a game today.
Wow.
So heavy hearts over there.
I think they had the decision to whether or not to play, and
they said that
let's play.
Yeah.
On the court, when what Kobe accomplished on the court, we could be here for all year talking about that. I mean, the honors, the statistics, his career, his legacy, and just it's unbelievable. All-star recognition, MVPs, scoring.
Finals MVP.
It's just
All-star MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 5 titles, 3 in a row.
4th highest score now, and
now LeBron passed him.
Yeah.
The night before, the 2 nights before, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was the night before in Philly.
It was the night before. In fact, early that morning, when before I had heard the news, my wife was on her phone and she said, "My friend's texting something or posting something about Kobe. What happened to Kobe?" And I said, "Oh, it's probably just from last night. LeBron passed him in scoring." And she goes, "No, I don't think so." And then I got on my phone, and that's when I found out and thought, "Oh my God, I hope and what I was seeing was TMZ, and who were pretty loathsome, and that they posted that story even before Vanessa Bryant had been notified by authorities. It is just bad journalism as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're not going to win any awards for integrity.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I mean, they're pretty much dirtballs all around anyway. So, but that was the first thing that I was seeing, and I just kept thinking and hoping, God, it was New York. It was the New York Post and TMZ that were running with it, because they don't have the integrity to wait even an hour for authorities to notify families. And I was just hoping, God, probably like everybody who heard it, God, I hope this is just some bogus BS that somebody has just got wrong.
Yeah, he was quite a figure.
Yeah, but as a player, and I heard somebody say this, and it's one of those things that, there's so many ways to feel sad about this, and as a fan of the Lakers, as a fan of Kobe, somebody was saying, he's never going to be able to make his Hall of Fame speech. He's not going to make that speech when they erect a statue to him at Staples. All of these things that he should have been, that we should have been able to see him do. It's just not going to happen, and it's just so heartbreaking.
I think it goes way beyond that, though. He's never going to be able to walk his daughters down the aisle,
of course.
all that kind of stuff. But then it will give his wife a chance to have a voice. Vanessa will have a voice for the Hall of Fame. I'm sure that, there'll be so many people that'll step up, and Jerry West will most likely be a part of that.
Yeah.
So,
and his eldest daughter,
right,
who's 17. And what a class it will be.
Yeah.
This year with him.
Kobe was very, very unselfish. When he came into the league, he was very anxious to pick the brain of anybody that would listen to him.
Sure.
Asking questions, bringing up scenarios. What would you do in this situation? How do we avoid this situation? And he was all ears. He was all ears. A lot of people, at that age are all about themselves. And here I am, and I don't need to worry about you. I know what to do. He was very open to anybody that would offer advice, and he was taking it. And by the same token, as he got older, he took care of the youngsters. He passed on his knowledge and his experience to the younger players as they came into the league, facing a lot of the same situations that he encountered when he came out.
Yeah.
So he was very accommodating to both as a young player and as a veteran player as well.
But clearly, an imperfect guy because of his single-mindedness, and I think there was a quote from his wife Vanessa Bryant, not after the tragedy, but from before, where it was like, sort of that same Mamba mentality, which was like, if you're going to spend this much time away from your family and you're going to work this hard and you're going to, you better win championships. The end result better be championships. Right. And, to me, the beauty of that single-mindedness of a couple like that is amazing. But he was very, obviously he was very hard on players who couldn't quite do it. That's why the best players don't make good coaches, right? Because it's like, why can't you do this?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Why can't you do what
Magic
I do?
Johnson's a good example.
Right?
Can't you go for 54 straight nights?
Yeah. Why can't you do this?
Yeah.
And you get it, and you just see quotes from him about how he doesn't understand lazy people, about people who don't work hard. I don't get it. He goes, I don't get it, and I don't want to know how your brain works,
right?
Because that's not how my brain works, right? Yeah. And then I think it was Lou Williams who tweeted out something about the team had such a terrible game, and Kobe came in and said, "Give me all your Kobe shoes, give them back. That's it. You guys played you played like crap. Give them back." And Lou was joking about that on his Sweet Lou on his tweet, but that was the kind of thing, he just. That's what made him who he was, and why people who had never met him before admired and tried to emulate him, and it was multidisciplinary, right? It went across. It could be a businessman who wanted to be the best salesperson, or a football player, or anything like that. Some of the things that are coming out now, with his camp. He's at the end. He goes, okay, we're gonna run, but if one of you can make a 3-pointer, and I don't know if you've seen this video. There's a girl who lost her arm in an accident. And she had been playing really hard, and she was part of the camp. And he picked her, and she said, "I'll do it." So he said, "But what happens if you don't make it? Everybody else runs, and you got to watch them." So she dribbled, set up behind the 3-point line, drained it. And the look on his face, and the pride, and what he was trying to build, and this one-armed girl who stood up there with the courage and the bravery to say, I'll be accountable. I'll take that shot. Amazing. That's the kind of thing that he was, instilling in young girls, boys at this camp. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that you want to see perpetuated and continued.
He certainly proved after his basketball days that he was an entrepreneur and a businessman with a sharp idea of what to go and how to get there and what he wanted. A lot of players just kind of disappear into the sunset, and you never hear from them, or else they end up bankrupt, or but he was so intelligent, and the way he went about the business world the same way he went about the basketball court.
That's what I was
hard
saying.
work,
Yeah.
Don't come and work for me if you're not going to give me 150%, and that's the way it should be, and it paid off. I mean, he's got that the media company, and got the Black Mamba Academy, of course,
right,
and he's done so much for nonprofits and underprivileged, and I mean I heard a story coming in where there was a young baby that was named Kobe Jr. In the hospital for I think a heart transplant.
Yeah.
And so
too sick to get the heart transplant.
Yeah.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah, and he got to the hospital, wanted to know what he could do to help. If it's money, I'll take care of it. What do you need? Whatever you need me to do. Well, it wasn't the money. It was just that it didn't work out. But the mother said that the time Kobe spent with that little boy was the most joyous occasion, a part of her life she's ever endured. I mean,
yeah. The only time she said that he would smile. This young boy would smile. Was they played ball? They threw the ball back and forth. I heard that same account, and the woman said, she lived in Phoenix. I think the Colangelos helped set it up.
Right.
And she said, people would talk bad about him, about some of his, imperfections and the problems that he had run into. And she said, let me tell you a story. And she would always tell him the story. Mm-hmm. That you can believe what you want to believe, and you can think what you want to think, but let me tell you a story.
Right.
And that was her story.
Again, I think we're going to hear hundreds and hundreds of these stories come out. Things that he just did under the radar. No cameras, no press.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this was there was no press. There was no PR.
Just out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
We're talking about the business end of the one thing Magic Johnson said, I was really looking forward to seeing how the second half of his life would turn out in in there. Well, let's talk about the you mentioned the Academy. He got a did he get an Oscar a couple of years for a animated
Dear Basketball.
Yeah.
yeah he did
His love letter to basketball. And again, I think that there are probably some people, who follow the Academy Awards the way other people follow sports, and probably thought it was just sort of a name recognition thing. But I saw that thing and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was worthy of the Oscar. Yeah. And but the fact that he just the first try, and best New York Times best-selling books because of his love of the Harry Potter books about, magic and basketball, magical powers in basketball. The things that he was just able to do. I mean, the trajectory, and that's just the trajectory of what he was doing, and with his family, with his daughters, with his his business matters, with the production company and with the Academy. You could just the sky was the limit.
Yeah. He there's nothing he wouldn't take a shot at if he thought he had a chance to success. I think you mentioned before the Clipper game tonight has been canceled. I think that's appropriate. There's no way the Lakers could have wrapped their brains around trying to figure out
the other thing
against the Clippers.
The other thing, and just going back for a second, is his ESPN Plus, the analysis that he would do on the ESPN Plus. Some of that stuff was just remarkable. I mean, his mind and how he would break down stuff, and the way that he would see things. It was that was cool stuff. I mean, that was like must watch stuff when he was doing those analyses, and just so smart and so amazing, and
I think what I heard was the NBA TV channel is going to replay his last game tonight. I think it was on ESPN.
Yeah, it was on ESPN last night.
But tonight, I think NBA channel is going to replay his last game. When he tore it up, and then it was funny that the speech he gave afterwards was. The whole time during his career, people like pass the ball, and then on his last night, they're saying shoot it.
right. Yeah, the Mamba out speech. Yeah.
Somebody mentioned that the NBA is not known for canceling games. I think
the last one was during the Boston Marathon.
And the other one was John F. Kennedy after Kennedy's assassination.
Wow. Yeah.
Only 2 times that they've canceled games.
Is there anything else that we've missed on?
No, I think Mambasita, little Gigi, and Yukon, sort of how they had adopted, her and how her trajectory as taking over the mantle as the basketball player in the Bryant family, and how Yukon and Gino Ariyama had embraced Kobe and Gianna and their tribute was also beautiful. Yeah. She's a Yukon Husky for life.
Yep, exactly. Let's switch gears here. We didn't get a chance to talk about Spygate. We missed a few podcasts during the holiday season. Let's just really.
Yeah, I'm having an existential crisis. With this, because it's like, as a USC fan, Clay Helton being rehired, this coming out about the Dodgers getting cheated out of at least one title, and the death of Kobe. It's like, I'm thinking, what the hell else can happen?
Looking for locusts right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, frozen iguanas falling out of trees.
Yeah, Spygate. I mean, that was. So I've talked to a lot of Major League Baseball players, retired Major League Baseball players, and they're split on it. They're like, there's a way to steal signs. You steal them from the bench, you steal them from the boxes, you steal them from the bases, but you do not use a camera in center field.
Right.
Yeah.
That's lazy.
Right.
Right. I mean,
absolutely. Look, if it's frustrating when Kenley Jansen is stopping and talking, and the game is stalled because somebody's trying to steal signs from second base. But that's just gamesmanship.
part of the
Part of the game.
That's just
Part of the
games.
game.
That's
Yeah.
gamesmanship.
Yeah.
And if I can steal it from there, that but
They're not doing a very
but
good
it's
job.
different when it's
Right. Then
electronic.
you're not- yeah.
When it's just cheating, it's just flat out cheating. It's like we can argue about what's cheating, what's not, but that's gamesmanship. But it's not gamesmanship when it's electronic and it's systematic, and it's just awful. And it's one of those things where and I'm jaded, and I know that the reason that no players are being punished at all, no active players are being punished at all, and will not be punished, is because they got a collective bargaining agreement that they got to deal with next year, and so they didn't want to fight that fight this year. And to me, that's just horse crap. But I get it and I understand it, and it's like, as a Dodger fan, I don't want that title, I don't want that banner, but goddamn, you better pull that banner down and put that trophy in a box.
Right.
Don't show it again, and don't fly that flag.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, you don't even have to apologize. Just take the flag down, right?
Right.
Because they're not apologizing, and the spin that they're giving, and this underdog, and just watch. I hate it. It's just loathsome.
As a fan, I am so looking forward to this year and watching the Astros go around. And they open up in Anaheim Stadium this year. So, I mean, that's going to be a, nationally televised game. And just watch the absolute, how many trash cans are going to be? I mean, if I was in minor league team right now, I'd be doing a trash can giveaway night.
Absolutely. Tiny little
Right,
mini
exactly.
trash cans.
You get a stick and you get a trash can, and every time somebody comes up,
a little mini bat and a little mini
right.
trash can, right?
I mean, it's
Absolutely.
going to be entertainment like no other entertainment.
Well, the Dodgers Pantone 294, that big fan group that travels really well with them, says they're coming down to Angel Stadium in droves.
Yeah.
For that Astro series.
Yeah.
And again, and there are plenty of the people, they're just, the fans who are also unapologetic. There's plenty of fans, true, that are like, I hate that we want it that way, because that was a good team. There was a lot of talent on that Astros team. They didn't win all of those games by being cheaters, but they won a lot.
Right,
and to do it in for the American League title, and to do it for the World Series title, it's just the grossest thing, and it just pisses me off. But even fans who are unapologetic, and it's like, yeah, go ahead and hit us. It's like, yeah, we'll take the base, we'll take the free base. Yeah, you'll take the broken wrist too,
Right. Yeah.
Or the traumatic brain injury.
What happens the next time Aroldis Chapman faces Jose Altuve?
Let's
God.
see that ball go through him. But you said that the MLB is not going to be disciplining any players. Well, I think that'll be taken care of on the field and then beyond. I mean, you thought steroid guys from being held out from the Hall of Fame was bad. Watch this class of Astros and how they get nothing going forward, right?
Yeah.
I mean, AJ Hinch, he's blackballed.
Yeah.
Cora, blackballed, right? Beltran, who's going to hire Beltran?
I
He went into his first job ever post being a player and lied.
Yeah.
Right? How do you trust that guy with a $300 million, $500 million franchise?
Yeah. And just again, I'm angry. I'm hurt. That was a great Dodgers team that I think should have beat that Astros team anyway. Even a cheating Astros team that had their number, I think they still could have beat them. And so that and it hurts, but just to hear the nonsense coming out, it's almost like there's just no PR, nobody with any common sense. Bill Simmons likes to write about, everybody just needs to hire this vice president of common sense. Then every idea that you have, just pass it by this guy and let him tell you, look, that's not the way to handle it. Don't put your two stars out there to talk and without apologizing and by trying to spin it like we're coming, we're gonna, we didn't need to do it, or you'll see, we're coming back, we'll be in the. That's not what you do. You just shut up.
Right.
Just
shut.
It'll be very interesting. Spring training starts in 21 days, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how many press credentials are issued for the Houston camp and for Boston camp, and those players, they can dodge behind their Instagram account and all that stuff right now, but pretty soon, man, they're going out in public, and they have to walk, to the field, and people are going to be asking them questions. And every single post, even in spring training, their post game is going to be every single time. There's going to be a question about this.
What Bergman was the one that said nobody on our team ever wore a device. When Altuve, wouldn't let you take his uniform off when he crossed the plate.
And I don't think it's because he has a third nipple, right?
No, I don't believe that either. No.
Yeah. And he's not modest because, half of his ads, he's in a tank top at Disneyland or whatever.
Right, exactly. So. And just, Verlander when he was accepting his award this year, and, just the grossness.
That guy absolutely kills me because he's complaining the baseballs are juice and this and that and everything.
Exactly.
But as soon as they get caught doing something where he, gets rewarded because of it, all of a sudden he's a saint. No.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah. I think they should ban Kate Upton from going to the games.
I think she should only go to the Anaheim series.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that did have an effect, though, on.
I'm gonna say this, and it's because I think Dusty Baker is not the best manager. I think the Astros team has been punished by Dusty Baker being named manager.
Dusty Baker,
the guy that came out and took the ball away from.
Thank God, I love that guy.
We could save it for the World Series.
Yeah, Ortiz, I think you watch, he will just absolutely kill that pitching staff. He will ride them right into the ground like he has done every single.
Yeah, everywhere he's gone.
Yeah,
everywhere he's gone.
So that's their punishment.
Yeah, apparently.
Right.
Yeah. And again, you can tell that it's probably an owner thinking, okay, we can't go with one of these analytics guys.
Nope.
We can't. It's got to be an old school. It was either going to be a guy like a Socha or the old Orioles man Showalter, right? Or Dusty Baker. It was going to be one of those old school guys. You knew it.
It's got to be a guy that's been around the block 100 times, so he can lead them through all the controversy that every question, right? He's going to have to keep that team focused through all of the ancillary noise that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
Now the question I have is, I'm sure that Boston and Houston aren't the only ones who have been cheating. Nobody else has been caught. Maybe they haven't done it to the extent, but with all the analytics and all the emphasis on computers and the modern age, you can't tell me that no other team has.
I think it might just be the tip of the iceberg. We might see.
I do too.
Look, obviously there are some semantics of being able to go straight to a tablet after and look at stuff right after you've struck out or you hit a home run, and so I kind of get the whole idea of no electronics, once the game starts, and it makes sense, so that we don't see this sort of thing again. It makes sense, right? So that it doesn't happen again. You were talking about the app that you're working on, and but tragedy happens, and you don't want it to ever happen again. You do something to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Right. Well, part of the baseball player in me though says, "Hey man, if they've got my pitches, I've got to change up my signs. I've got to have something that's a little bit smarter than these guys banging a trash can, for gosh sakes. I mean, if they're teeing off on your pitcher, I mean let's be a little bit smarter than that.
Well, apparently Alex Wood was the smartest Dodger pitcher because he was the one who in Houston pitched that great game and knew something was up and changed those signs and changed what he was doing and how he was throwing and the signs and he pitched great. I mean, took a no-hitter into the fifth in that game, and but he knew. He said he knew.
Yeah,
he knew something was up.
Now the thing that we were talking about at home, because they said Boston, Joe with Cora being there, but wasn't Game 7 at Dodger Stadium?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I mean, that sort of takes away that.
Yeah, but
but it was that the
Kershaw game in Houston.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is what killed him.
Yeah.
Was that Game 5 or 4?
It was Game 5.
Game 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he went in with the giant lead, and then
all of a sudden it mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah. Ouch.
I'm still. I know it's not going to happen because of the players' union, but I'd still like to see punishment. This is the worst thing since the Black Sox scandal when they threw the World Series.
I think if you find out that the little guys on Houston actually were wearing buzzers, I think you ban him for life. Boom, you set an example. That is so much worse.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it's a little like when a prosecutor says, well, one of you guys pulled the trigger and whoever flips first,
Right.
even if you were the guy who actually pulled the trigger, if you flip first, then you get immunity and you don't get what happened. And so it sounds like everybody just got immunity and they all just said, yeah, okay, we'll tell you the truth. Or at least some,
right.
version of the truth.
We'll tell you the truth that we already knew.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. We'll tell you. Yeah. Tell you the obvious.
Yeah. But that's the thing where it's like, I think, John, I think weeks ago we were talking about this, and I think I may have emailed you, and you were talking about, is what's baseball going to do? Is anything going to happen? And I think one of the things I said was, I said right from the start, they're not going to do anything. Yeah. And to me, this isn't anything really. I mean, Hinch and a GM.
So we were talking about this at our local watering hole the other night, and so they fined him $5 million, right?
Right.
But they also took away 4 draft picks, right?
Right.
So they're number 1 and number 2 draft pick for 2 years. Which, if you look at the signing bonuses for those slots, right, it's about $5 million.
Right.
So it's a complete wash. So the fine and the draft picks were sort of a
right.
Right.
And if you're a good team, those are late
Right,
drafts anyway.
Those were 31, 32,
Right.
or whatever.
People were suggesting that no, you take away international money or your international picks,
Right.
That's more punitive,
Right.
Right. This is very.
Or how about take away your top prospect?
No.
That's in your system already.
Yeah.
Take away your top 4 prospects and give them to the teams that you played against in the World Series or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Make it hurt.
Yeah, make it hurt. This doesn't
Yeah.
hurt. There's no and especially if players get immunity, there's nothing preventing them from cheating again, because it doesn't sound like the Major League Baseball is putting any rules into play
Right.
that are stating if you do this, we're going to ban you for life. They're not. None of that is happening. Nobody's getting fined. Nobody's losing games over this.
Think about it, right? So it's not the Dodgers, Yankees, right? So or in Boston, really, that have the the biggest brands, right? That
Right.
you have to worry about. So it's the Astros, right? So if you're the owner of the Astros, and you told them 5 years ago, hey, in 3 years you're going to win a World Series, but 2 years after that you're going to take a major publicity hit and you're going to lose this and this and this. Would you take it and get your World Series ring? Heck yeah!
Oh, hell
I'd do
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Bartolo Colon, right? You're gonna be suspended 80 games and all this, but because you took steroids. But after that, you're gonna sign a 4-year contract worth
That's right.
$32 million.
That's right. Right.
That's
Absolutely.
the juice is worth the squeeze. Right?
Absolutely, and quite literally, when it comes to the PEDs, there were plenty of guys
Oh, yeah.
that were thinking of it as a business decision. They would just set
absolutely.
it out and say, you know what, I'm sucking. I got to do something.
Right.
And this is it. This is my advantage.
Right.
And I'm taking it.
Yep.
And if I get caught, I get caught.
That's right.
Yeah.
But like Corey said, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's other teams that are going to get nailed, and I think a lot of teams are running scared right now.
I don't disagree with the thought that this is the tip of the iceberg. I think what I disagree with, and again, it's because I'm jaded, is that I don't think that anything else is coming down the line as far as punishments or anything like that.
I would totally agree with you on that because baseball needs this to be done.
Right.
Right. They need to go into this season. They need to have there's going to be some uproar at the beginning
Right.
with the Astros, and all the fans are going to be, you're going to see the banners, and you can see the trash cans, you can see people booing like crazy. But baseball needs to have a clean break from this and go forward and have a good season.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And get that collective bargaining agreement signed
Right.
and done.
You're going to have a great enshrinement for Cooperstown on the 26th
Sure.
of July. Right. And Captain America is going to be in the Hall of Fame, and that's going to be a good feel good, for the sport.
Right.
So they need to have this all cleaned up and tucked away nicely before that happens.
Right.
You guys have any thoughts on who might manage the Red Sox? They
I
have
haven't
not-
heard a word.
they haven't-
I haven't heard
it's been very-
anything.
It's been very quiet. And spring training opens in what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
You know, my thought is that Eduardo Perez jumps in there. Right, he was a runner-up for the Mets twice.
That's right. Right.
Right, he's very well liked.
Yeah.
In the NL East, he's very well liked by the players. He's bilingual. He's got great connection with the Latin American players, being from Puerto Rico. I think he's a natural choice for them to move forward. Great guy, easygoing, no controversy whatsoever. Been
Yeah.
clean his entire career.
Right.
Just a super guy and knows the game. Right.
Right. A legacy. Right.
Right. So that would be my guess.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And
Are you talking Mets or Red Sox?
Red Sox.
Okay.
Because the Mets already have
Did they get?
Jose
Did they?
Rojas.
Oh, I
Rojas.
didn't realize
Yeah.
that they. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Sox. Yeah. Be great.
yeah, I think
He'd be perfect. He's very well liked.
Yeah.
And like you say, there's no back page of the New York Post or any of that.
Never.
With
That
him.
guy's he's just a great guy. I remember him from when he played. I played with him with the Angels, and just a super guy
Yeah.
all the way around.
Yeah.
Philip Rivers moved his family to Florida. I read something in the paper today that he and the Chargers are going to part ways. Where did the Chargers go? You want to try out for quarterback there, Kenny?
No, not with this time. No.
They never, they knew at some point this guy's 175 years old. They knew he was going to retire.
He's older than Pujols.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
And Pujols actually moves
Why
better
haven't
than
they?
him.
Why did they bring somebody on 3 years ago? Just let him hold a clipboard and get ready
Yeah.
to step in. Who's
Yeah.
their backup quarterback? Who's their
Tyrod
backup-
Taylor.
What's that?
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah. From what I heard this morning on the Dan Patrick show, right, and they're always right, that Phillip Rivers would be a perfect fit in Indianapolis, right? Chargers would be a perfect fit for Marcus Mariota for 2 years. Give him a 2-year deal. Draft
Interesting.
Tua. Draft someone else
Yeah.
that needs to have some
that'd be-
seasoning, and maybe for Tua a time of healing. Great guy. Marcus Mariota is a salt of the earth guy, and
Yeah, that'd be a good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that solves all your problems. I think it's a good fit. I think it works. I don't think you win a title with Marcus, but like you said, you bring him in, you win some games. Tua sits at the feet of Marcus and learns the game and heals and gets better. Where are the Chargers drafting? Pretty high, right?
seventh.
7th, 8th,
I
yeah.
hope so,
7th, I
yeah.
think,
What were they,
yeah.
5
Yeah,
and
they were
5 and
bad.
11?
Yeah, they were bad.
5 and 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philip just kept throwing it to the other team.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But there are pieces there, right? And so it's frustrating, because I think I think people are, Philip's beloved, right? And so if you're a
Exactly.
real deep, hardcore Chargers fan, it was like he's gonna snap out of it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna be fine. One more year, or whatever. He's gonna get better. And then if you're not like a Chargers fan, but you're just on the side, you look at it objectively, you're going, man, maybe if I close one eye and squint, maybe he'll get you 8 wins, but he's falling apart right in front of you. I mean, this is something that should have been addressed a couple of years ago.
I think they thought, hey, it's going to get better, right? We've got all these great talent around him. We've got a great defense. We've got,
Right.
great tight end. We've got receivers. We've got backs. I mean, we've got a pretty decent team. We're, one player
Still
away.
the age.
Yeah. But then you had you got a running back who's keeps holding out, right? And,
Right. And then came back and just dropped a dud,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just such a bad year.
I went to the Viking game at Charger. By the way, you said loyal Charger fan. It was probably one person there that was dressed in Charger gear. It was purple.
I've
And
heard that
watch them
that's
give
what's-
away the ball 8 times. It was just incredible. That's when I'm like,
Yeah.
I think they were motioning to me to go down there and start.
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any former athletes in the house?
looking for
Anybody?
A backup JV quarterback.
Yeah.
Anybody
exactly.
who's played
Yeah.
college
Yes.
level any sport,
Right.
badminton,
And
anything.
NAIA. Yeah.
Yes. Anything. Yeah. So the Chargers it's going to take some work. I don't think there's an easy fix. What Corey's suggesting with Mariota and getting a quarterback in the draft is going to take time and patience. And when you got a brand new shiny stadium, I guess you'll be distracted by all the bells and the whistles, and you'll be okay, and you'll be patient for 1 year because you just had fun at this new park, right?
The fantasy solution is to bring TB12 in, right?
Yeah.
And have Tom Brady sign a 2-year contract, come in, and
Look, that's great. I don't think he's an LA guy, frankly. I mean, he may be in Northern California, obviously he could play, but
wouldn't that be fun?
It would. Sure, absolutely.
That would be great. That would give Chargers some relevance other than looking at their draft pick.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. For me, I don't feel like it happens, and the only reason is because, they've got what's essentially a gap year between when they have to start filling seats, right? Because people are just going to want to come, and it's probably going to be all
the visitors, home of the visitors.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's LA, and the Chargers fans from San Diego haven't quite re-embraced them, and now that Philip's gone, there's really not much reason.
Well, that
to
takes
anymore.
Attendance down at least 11 people.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, that's right.
So.
His family, or more. I mean, he may not be done.
Knows? Yeah,
he may be hanging up the cleats, but
he
might have a few more bullets in him.
What do you do if you're the Rams? They've got a lot of free agents.
Oh boy, that's a good question. I'm looking at
agents.
Yeah.
They've got no money, no draft picks.
And then so you look at I'm looking at the guys that have team options, like Eric Weddle and Nickel Roby-Coleman, right? About $5 million each, and I'm thinking, oh my God, if you sign, do you sign both? Do you sign one? Do you sign neither? It's like, I don't know that there's a good ansser there.
A lot of free agents.
They have gone from the penthouse to the outhouse in no time,
Yeah.
and it's all because they have no running game, right?
Yeah.
They have no line, which led to they had no back, right? So with Gurley being,
let Safford go
line.
last year, and somebody else had two of their linemen go last year.
Yeah, well, so Andrew Whitworth, who was thinking about retiring when they got him from the Bengals,
Right.
is an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
Okay. And then on the defense, Michael Brockers and Dante Fowler are unrestricted free agents. Zerline, who was a weapon for them,
Right.
Is an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah,
And especially with the need for kicking around the league. Holy smokes.
Corey Littleton, another
Chargers would
unrestricted
sign him
free
in
agent.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Then the restricted free agents are JoJo Natson and a couple of guys, defensive end Morgan Fox and Dante Deanne. But to me, the it's Whitworth, it's one or other of Fowler or Littleton, and Weddle and Roby-Coleman. I mean, Roby's a good nickelback, and Weddle, I don't know. God, I don't know.
What's funny is with both them and the Rams going to the new stadium, the Chargers are actually on paper in a better position, right? They have the better draft pick. They have cap space. They've got a better core group of guys that are signed. I mean,
Younger.
Yeah, there is no cap space.
There's nothing.
here.
No.
Rams are going in, lame duck season right now. They need some miracles to happen.
I mean, we're talking. I'm looking at the Goff and Donald at the top. Goff, Donald, and Gurley at the top.
Oof.
That is a cap hit of, what do we got? $77 million. That's the cap hit.
Ouch.
3 players.
Three players.
I mean, if you can offload Gurley on anyone,
yeah,
you do it.
Absolutely.
I don't care
think so, too.
who they offer. Bag of
I think so too.
Tom Brady.
If you can get a first round pick,
if you can get a 4th round pick, and offload that, you do that in a second.
That's salaries. And I'm not so sure about the big money they gave Goff either. What, $164 million?
Oof.
Something like that over.
Those big contracts. Well,
6 years.
Oh yeah, and it was mostly guaranteed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the trend. So
yeah, right.
Those big contracts do not work out.
No, they tend not to.
No.
And again, it's something that we talked a little bit about when when Gurley wasn't quite right. It's like, you know, you got a Ford truck and you can kind of bang around and something happens and you can get your hands dirty and you can kind of fix it. But when you're driving a Ferrari around, something goes wrong, man, and it takes like 4 engineers and you know, tens of thousands of dollars, and there's no easy fix. And then it just never seems like it's running right again. And that was always the Rams offense to me. It was like that Ferrari that just couldn't afford, you know, that one ding over a you know, a speed bump. You know, just couldn't do it.
They were going in thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they were fun to watch for a while, but then, you know, Gurley, you just don't have Gurley to carry the ball 25 times, and he's not even blocking.
No.
There was a time when
he
was a very good pass blocker.
He was blocking the Gatorade table. That's it.
He was, you know, and then he wouldn't even do it.
It's amazing how much of everyone's a genius when you've got a great line and a great running back.
Absolutely.
And you've got a quarterback that doesn't throw too many picks. Right. Everyone's a genius. But now,
absolutely.
You know,
but now it looks like you got a 34-year-old head coach, and not much happening anymore, right? It got ugly fast. Yeah, that's like, you know, you go to the dance and you're dancing with that girl, and then they turn the lights on. You go, whoa, wow,
yeah,
exactly.
Lights are on, and
I won't go there.
Yeah. Butterface.
We got anything else?
I don't. What did you have on your list?
That's it. Yeah. You want to talk spring training, Angels, Dodgers at all? Not much to talk about right now.
I can't. I will say one thing. You know, the some of the talk going back to the Kobe thing. About, you know, there's talk about, you know, changing the logo. You know, which for temporarily, you know, I would be cool with that. You know, Jerry West, you know, is the logo, and, you know, to have Kobe temporarily be the logo.
Well,
I mean, I think that would be a nice
Why not
tribute.
do Kobe as the logo for the All-Star game?
Yeah,
or
something like
do
that.
something like that. You know, do it for
the finals or something.
or something like that.
Yeah, something temporarily, but not completely, because for as you know, as great a player as he was, and beloved, and how tragic this was, it's too much of a knee-jerk reaction.
Right, it's emotional.
Somebody said there were 600,000.
2 million signatures.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but you know, some of that is a little bit about before Kobe was about, you know, from an EDI lens, equity, diversity, and inclusivity. Right. It's you know, a predominantly African American league. And not a lot of, you know, white American players in the league anymore. A lot of Europeans as well. And that maybe Jerry West isn't quite the face or the icon for this current modern NBA. Yeah. And that was sort of the thing. And so maybe this is a way to temporarily get to a new logo that
modernize the game.
Yeah, to sort of reflect, you know, the makeup and the demographic of the.
I like your idea, Corey, of the like the All-Star game,
yeah,
or maybe the NBA Finals, something like that.
Yep.
You know, that'd be.
Or the G League, or I don't know, something. I mean, he's obviously above G League, but I mean, just something special.
Yeah.
You know,
but temporary.
But
right?
I mean, you don't erase Jerry West.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. I love the logo. I mean, I love the logo.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's an old white guy, you know, with shorty shorts. Right. You know, it's just not the way. You know, it's not the look of the game anymore. But you know. Yeah.
All right. If that is it, we are out.
Good night.